2.2 is linear relations and functions. And first of all, a linear function is a function whose degree is 1. That means that 1 is the highest exponent on the variable. The graph of the line, or the graph of a linear function, is a line. And it can be written in the form f of x is equal to mx plus b. As you see down here, that's slope-intercept form. It doesn't matter if it's in function notation with the f of x or if it's in regular notation with the y. It means the same thing. Y equals mx plus b. M is the slope, b is the y-intercept. You also have standard form, which is ax plus by equals c. Notice the x and the y are on the same side here. That's what standard form is. So getting on to a couple things, you can tell from the beginning if one is a linear function or not. It can be written in the form f of x equals mx plus b. So for example, I have f of x equals 2 over x, f of x equals 8 minus 3 over 4x, or we'll say g of xy equals 3xy minus 4. The first one is not a function because the x, the variable, is in the denominator, is being divided by the variable. The second one is a function. And this last one is not a function because you have two variables that are being multiplied together. And two variables as your input, basically, which makes this not a function either. So in this one I want to write in standard form, which means I want the x and the y on the same side. So I'm going to go ahead and subtract the 8y. Now I can't combine these because one's x and one's y. So I'm going to leave it negative 3 over 10 x minus 8y is equal to negative 15. It's key that you keep that negative there. Okay, because that negative goes to the number that's after it. So if you just write 15, it changes the equation. So make sure you bring that negative down with it. All right. So, and this makes it a little bit different because of the fraction. The standard form cannot have any coefficient that's a fraction either. All coefficients need to be integers. So in order to make this an integer, I'm going to multiply by 10. Well, because all of them are negative as well, I'm going to multiply everything by a negative 10, and that will make everything positive. So when I multiply by 10 to this first one, the 10s cancel out. Negative times a negative is positive, and you just get 3x. Then I need to multiply it to the y as well, negative 8y. Again, negative times negative is positive. That becomes 80y is equal to positive 150. Let's put the y there. So this is the standard form of the original equation or original function. Okay, so the next one we're going to find the x and y intercepts and then graph it using that x and y intercept. We'll also graph it using slope-intercept form, but this first one we're going to find the x and y intercepts. So to find the x-intercept, what we're going to do is plug 0 into y, and to find the y-intercept, we're going to plug 0 into x, because the x-intercept is always going to be on the x-axis, and that's where the y value is 0, so you're finding where y is 0. The y-intercept is on the y-axis, and that's where x is always 0. It doesn't matter which point you put on the y-axis, x is always 0. So to find the x-intercept, I'm going to plug 0 in for y, so I have 2 times x minus 3 times 0 plus 8 equals 0. Well, 0 times anything is 0, so I have 2x plus 8 equals 0. Subtract 8. 2x is equal to negative 8, and divide by 2, and x is equal to negative 4. That means the x-intercept is the point negative 4, 0. To find the y-intercept, I plug 0 in for x, 2 times 0 minus 3y plus 8 is equal to 0. So I have this becomes 0, negative 3y plus 8 equals 0. I'm going to subtract 8. Negative 3y equals negative 8. Divide by negative 3. Again, this negative needs to come down, and you need to divide by it as well. A negative divided by a negative becomes positive, and we'll leave it as a fraction, 8 over 3. So I have the point 0, 8 over 3, positive 8 over 3. So when I go to graph them, let's graph the x-intercept is going to be on the x-axis, negative 4, 0. The y-intercept is on the y-axis. That's at 0, 8/3. One mistake people will do here is they'll use this as the rise over run. This is a point. 0, 8/3 is a value on the number line. And understand where it falls. So you're basically finding the value, 8 divided by 3. So 3 goes into 8 twice, and 2 remaining. So it's basically 2 and 2/3. So I go 2 and 2/3. You're roughly estimating there because you won't be able to get it perfect. And then you can draw your line. Once you have 2 points on a line, you can draw a line. All right, and that's all you need to do in order to draw the line. I'm going to cheat here a little bit. Get my ruler, and that's the line for, or the graph for this linear function. Okay, so in order to graph this, I need to first put it in slope-intercept form. So I'm going to have f of x, and I want this term with the x first, and that's going to be my mx. So I'm going to write that first. This sign goes with it. And I'm going to write it as a coefficient, where now it's kind of smushed with the x. It's still going to be negative, and the coefficient is 3 over 4 times x. And then this 3 is a positive, so that's plus 3. M is equal to negative 3 over 4. B is equal to positive 3. So, and the M is the slope, the B is the y-intercept. So a couple things I want to talk about here. Positive slope. You should be able to tell whether a graph has a positive slope or a negative slope just by looking at it. So you should be able to check anything you graph whether you have your slope correct. And I'm going to tell you a trick that I use. But for positive slope, it should be going for both of these, read from left to right. And a positive slope is going into a positive direction from down to up, from left to right. A negative slope is going in a negative direction from up to down. So it's getting more negative as you go further from left to right. The positive is getting more positive from left to right. So what I need to do first is graph the y-intercept, and that's going to be at +3. And then from that point, I'm going to use the slope. And my trick to make sure you get the slope correct is if it's positive, rise up. If it's negative, rise down. And that way, always run to the right for that first point. So since this is a negative, I'm going to rise down 1, 2, 3, and run to the right 1, 2, 3, 4. And now I like to do one going in the other direction as well. So now I can go up 3, 1, 2, 3, and I just have to keep this aligned. I know it's a linear, it's got to stay aligned, so I got to go this way, 1 to left, 2, 3, 4. And now I have my linear, and I'm going to get my ruler. And put my arrows. Okay, so here are 3 U-try problems, write in standard form. Identify A, B, and C. Find the x and y intercept, then graph, and also find the slope and the y-intercept, then graph. For this last one, remember you have to, in order to put it in slope-intercept form, you have to get the y by itself first, and that's the key there. I won't give you a joke today. We can't have too much fun, so maybe next time I'll get you one. I know you're going to miss it though, but I'll catch you later.